So people often ask me what software I use to do my medical illustrations and modeling and even something, that's more whimsical like these types of things. And the software I use for all of it is Zbrush. This is a modeling software where you can use different brushes to modify, some type of mesh, whatever way you want it. And so I'm just going to open up a model I've made here of C2, and let's just make another one of those kind of crazy desktop backgrounds. So this is a C2 that I modeled out of a sphere, just like you saw, just using the different brushes in this panel. And I could render it within ZBrush. Most people who do professional modeling, use a dedicated renderer, and for me that's Keyshot. And so Keyshot has a bridge with the ZBrush. You have to buy it separately. And so now when I hit render here, BPR stands for Best Preview Render. It's going to send this model that I've made over to my render engine. And once it loads in here, you'll be able to see kind of how it works. So it's loading my material library over here. And so I have my own materials that I've made. The software comes with some materials within it. If you want to just use some of their materials, that's generally what I use. I just kind of modify what they have. So you can see I can make this like black metal if I wanted to. And any material you have is going to have different properties. This one only has roughness, depending on it. So if I do some translucent material here, then I can get it'll have a bit more properties. So I can change the transparency, the cloudiness, all sorts of different things about it. So for this one, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make it look kind of like a plant. So I'm going to come over here to my fuzz menu, and I'm going to do this patchy, grass material. And I spend a lot of time in the render engine kind of modifying these. So you can see just by default, this material that they've made kind of gives me something along what I'm looking for, but I just want to go in here and edit this a little bit. So I'm going to go into my material graph, and then this is where I spend a lot of time kind of customizing materials to look exactly how I want. And so I want this to be maybe a bit more patchy. Let me just rescale this so that it's not taking up the whole screen. So let me just bring the scale down here so we can change that patchiness a little bit. That looks pretty good. And then this fuzz is a bit too long, so I want to make it a bit shorter, and I want a bit more length variation. All right, that looks pretty good. So let's just hit the execute geometry node and update the fibers and see how they look. That's looking pretty good. I want a bit more length variation. Maybe just a little bit less overall length. Okay, let's refresh that. And so that's part of it, is making, custom materials, and I kind of like how that looks, so I'll leave that. And then you can have different lighting environments here. So say I want to light this like it's outside, so I can pick this lighting environment, and then I don't want to see that environment, so I'm just going to change the back plate color here, and I kind of want it dark so that my shadows are dark when I render this. All right, so that looks pretty good. I don't really like that environment. So yeah, I spend a lot of time kind of in here trying to make things look exactly how I want. So I want to render this out in 4K resolution and make another desktop background of this kind of weedy looking C2 vertebra. So yeah, that's kind of an introduction into how my workflow is.